Yo, what is good, guys? I hope you're all doing absolutely amazing and are trading safely in the markets. It's your boy VGOK and I'm back with another market outlook video for you guys today. I know it's been a long time since the last video, and I do apologize, and I will be looking to be getting back to more consistency on YouTube with getting as much content as possible out for you guys. So appreciate that. Now, as always, we're going to be running through the currency pairs. I have shortened down my watch list as well, so I do a bit more of an in-depth sort of market outlook on the actual pairs that I have now, and of course we'll be looking into the news events for this coming week as well. Also, if you really do enjoy these sorts of calls and you think you'd get more value out of listening to them live, at the time of when I'm recording them, and also other sorts of calls and videos, such as live trading calls with myself and the other members of the private mentorship group, then please do drop me a message on my Instagram, which is at VGOK. Link will be in the description below. We'll have a discussion of what will suit you best in terms of the mentorship. But with that being said, let's jump straight into the market outlook. So to begin with, let's jump straight into the Forex factory so we can have a look at the news for this coming week. Now, as you can probably see, there is going to be, obviously, the day of recording is Sunday at the moment, Sunday, April the 9th, and we can see there's a NZD and AUD bank holiday today. Obviously, we are in UK time, and you can see on the Monday, on April the 10th, we have, further bank holiday for Easter. You can see there's for the Swiss franc, the pound, and the euro, there'll be bank holidays. So maybe not too much movement for Monday. And as we look forward into the week, you can see Tuesday, not a lot of news. We'll have a look into the investing.com calendar as well just afterwards for next week, just to see if there's any more detail on that one. But as we can see from Forex Factory, the Wednesday at 1:30 p.m, we do have the CPI news. So expect some sort of volatility on that day for then. We also have the Canadian dollar interest rates being released at 3 p.m, so if you do look to trade the Canadian dollar, then be wary of that. You'll be expecting a decent amount of volatility with that news release. And of course on Wednesday we do have the FOMC meeting as well for the US dollar, so that will be about the interest rates being released for the US dollar. And that would be 7 p.m. UK time. So ideally that'll probably be after our ideal window of trading within New York Open, but we'll definitely be looking to monitor price action and the other trades, if we do have any running, around that sort of time, just to sort of reduce risk and secure profits. And then as we look further ahead, we can see we've got unemployment rates for the Aussie dollar being released 2:30 a.m. UK time, so probably around the middle of Asian session. For that AUD news release. So if you do trade AUD, be wary of that. There will be a lot of volatility overnight. And then we can see some London session for the GDP. We've got news for the pound, and we do have PPI news for the US dollar on that Thursday as well. So definitely going to be some volatility for that as well. And then not a lot of news for Friday, but it is showing some red impact news for Friday at 1:30 as well. So on the whole, probably the days I'd look to target more on in terms of that I'm taking trades will be the Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Monday and Tuesday will be interesting, probably not Monday too much, seeing as we do have bank holidays for the pound and the euro, obviously not for the US dollar on there. So the dollar still might be seeing some volatility, seeing some movement, so we could still see some decent movement in a lot of the pairs. But yeah, I'll be concentrating on trading the Wednesday, Thursday and Friday for next week. So just looking into the investing.com calendar as well, we can see all the bank holidays for Easter on Monday over here. And then what I really wanted to see, because on Forex Factory we only had the one news event on Tuesday, so just wanted to see if there was anything we were missing out. Now on here on Tuesday it says at 5 o'clock there's this EIA short-term energy outlook, so I think there'll be definitely some volatility on Tuesday, more than it sort of shows us on here as well. So something just to be wary of. If you only look at Forex Factory, please do look at some other economic calendars as well, just to get a full scope of all the news coming out for the week. And as we can see, all the other news events seem to be pretty accurate, consistent with Forex Factory's news releases as well. So everything looks pretty good, pretty similar, but yeah, it will be the main Wednesday, Thursday and Friday which I'll look to target for the week. So starting off our analysis by looking at DXY. Now from the monthly time frame, we can see on DXY we've had a really good rejection down from the supply zone. So I think ideally what we'd be wondering from DXY is it going to be continuing this bearish movement down to get into a more discounted price of this impulse up here, or are we going to look to reverse a bit higher up where we are now, where we've started to see a few bullish rejections. So as we can see on the weekly time frame and the daily time frames, we've got some really nice movement coming from this daily rally-based rally zone in here. We can see that it's created a really nice sell to buy on the daily as well, which on the first reaction from it has given a good movement upwards, and now we have come lower and deeper into the zone. We're going to be anticipating maybe a potential further bullish push to the upside, which obviously on the other currency pairs will be correlated accordingly. So ideally we'll be looking for a longer term move for a bullish DXY at the moment, just because we're getting that good order flow to the upside. But as we start to look into the lower time frames on the intraday perspective, on the 4 hour and below, we can see on the hourly time frame right here, we've got this nice base drop which takes out previous areas of structure over here, which caused new higher prices. So it took out previous demand, therefore creating a new supply zone. And just below the supply zone we've got a build-up of liquidity over here for equal highs, but also looking at the bullish side of things, we've got a sell to buy on the hourly over here, which takes out previous liquidity. It creates a new higher high because we know it breaks structure above here as well, and we've got a build up of liquidity just above that zone. So to be honest, with DXY, it's going to be really interesting to see as market opens tonight on Sunday. We'll see exactly how and where which sort of liquidity it takes out first. So is it going to be taking out these equal highs first, or is it taking out these equal lows first? So ideally we're going to be looking to trade in between these areas, and whichever one gives us the confirmation, we'll be setting that one as our bias and trade the other Forex pairs accordingly. That's pretty much what I'm looking at for on DXY. Now as we look into GBP/USD, we can see from the daily time frame that this base drop over here, the one that gave a lot of rejections from the zone previously, so good rejection downwards there, and as we zoom in, another good rejection downwards here. Of course it did leave a set of equal highs which has now been run, but we're getting a good level of distribution starting to form now. So we've got equal highs, we've got the liquidity capturing candle. We just need to see a sharp move in the opposite direction to confirm the bearishness, and then we've got a good bias for GU going lower. Now that does correspond nicely with DXY, because DXY is in a good demand zone as well. So if DXY is to increase, we should consequently see GBP/USD decrease in value. So at the moment on higher time frame, that's what I'm looking into. And as we start to go into the lower time frames, the more intraday time frames, we can see over here we've got the 4 hour sell to buy region with a very clean imbalance next to it, a very clean fair value gap next to it. So this is going to be a very important area for me to see if it holds any value in terms of a demand. And as we start to see in more detail on the hourly time frame, we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 touches of a trend line. So as this trend line gets met again once more, we're going to be able to see whether it gets respected, which ideally I don't think it will happen, as we know about manipulations. So ideally we want to be seeing one of two things happening. Either we want to see a manipulation of the trend line, so sharp movement above and then sharp movement downwards to manipulate the trend line to the downside, or we're going to be looking to break past a previous supply zone, which would be in here. If we can look to break past this and subsequently go above the trend line, then we're actually breaking structure to the upside, and we should see some more bullish movement from here. So we've got a decent idea of where we can look for GBP/USD. And as we go into lower time frames, we can start to see the mitigations and the movements away, the institutional order flow. you know, a lot more clearly. So we can see in here, if we go actually down to the 1 minute time frame, I believe for GBP USD, it's the last wick over here, you know, of basically this movement down, this strong movement down was caused by the news. So it's the last buy to sell movement from that news release on Friday of last week. We can see that as we go along, what it's mitigated, strong movement up to the zone, fair enough, but then it has respected it and eventually broken structure to the downside. So early sort of movements for the week, you know, maybe Sunday as market opens, potentially Monday as well, we should see a continuation of this going lower, perhaps a second mitigation of this demand zone, but ideally we want to see continued bearishness so we can look to get price at a more discounted level so we can buy at lower prices down in here again. But yeah, the main thing is that trend line. I don't see it lasting very long. It should get sort of taken out or invalidated, I should say. So moving on to Euro USD next, and starting from the daily time frame, we can see previous areas of demand which haven't been met yet are still looking pretty good, still valid on the 4-hour time frame. We can see what they were sort of based on. Very clean looking sell to buy candle over here to start with an imbalance after it, so it's a good sign of a demand zone. And also we have a rally base rally in this situation which takes out this previous area of structure. So we do want to have a keep an eye on price as it gets down in here in this discounted region. But again, looking back at the daily time frame, you know, from the 3-day supply zone that we've identified here from before, which gave a really good drop of price, it broke structure definitely in that movement down. So you know, we are back into this premium price, so ideally looking for some sells to start presenting themselves. And going back to the news, I feel like the FOMC meeting on Wednesday is probably going to be the perfect example, the perfect excuse to really shift price in a certain direction and show us the bias. So at the moment the bearish side looks a bit nicer, seeing as we are in premium price and seeing as we're getting continued nice bearish order flow on the higher time frames. Then we can start to look in the more intraday time frames and below. And from what we can see already, so something I haven't even marked on, is this rally base rally in here, which gave such a clean reaction over here. It took out liquidity below these lows over here as well, so waiting to see if that's going to hold. If not, then it should look to come down into these lower zones here as well, but at the moment that's what we're looking into. And also when it first touched this supply zone over here, what did it create? It created a nice bearish trend line, 1, 2, 3 touches of the trend line, and then price action within this really strong wick to the upside took liquidity out, and then we saw a sharp move downwards as well, showing us the end of the manipulation. So potentially, you know, around about this area here is where I'd look for supply, and we can see it's almost reached it, almost tapped it, pretty much has tapped it. So whether we get a second mitigation of this zone over here to then drop further down is pretty much ideally what I'm looking at for Euro USD. So moving on to AUD USD, it is one of my favorite pairs to trade. I find that the mitigations are very clear on the intraday and scalp time frame, so I'd say probably the 2-hour time frame and below, I'd say it looks very clean. But looking into higher time frame, we can see over here this daily supply zone which was created, gave really good movement into the zone here, and then good strong rejection back down. Now we haven't quite met this area again yet, but we have left a bit of liquidity just below the zone, so as a future zone this looks really nice. And we can see further zones to the downside over here. We've got this base drop which takes out this previous area of demand, and price has come into it very nicely, spiked into it, and then giving more bearish price action. So waiting to see if this bearishness will continue. Ideally, if it does, we want to be looking to buy in this rally base rally over here, which looks very nice because it looks to break structure above here, which was the last significant structure point of this downtrend. So ideally getting a mitigation into here. We've got liquidity as well just above the zone, which is always a good sign. So wanting to see a manipulation over here to then get a stronger move to the upside for AUD USD. And as we go into the lower time frames, we can start to see in more detail the intraday move. So the first tap of this supply zone over here, we can see that the distributions were quite strong in here. We had equal highs, buy to sell movement which breaks structure, and this testing phase over here of the distribution successfully coming downwards and shooting price back down. We then get another mitigation, so pretty much the last point of supply coming into this area and dropping down again, really breaking the structure to the downside, and then it's left unmitigated whatever it did in here, so potentially coming back up into here to sell off again. But we are also below a trend line, so we should be in discounted prices at the moment, entering these demand zones and whatnot, and we'll see if this gives any bullish price action from here as well. So pretty much looking to play in between. It's pretty range bound at the moment, so looking just to play in the top end of the supplies, and then down here in the demands of the zone. And with that being said, we'll move on to the final pair, NZD/USD as well. So again, from the daily time frame, we can really see the 4-hour supply over here, how it distributed in here and dropped. And as we zoom in and see a bit more closely, we had the trend line liquidity and the daily candlestick giving us that buy to sell movement. So potentially coming up into this area, and we do have a nice area of liquidity just over here as well. So as a future zone, may not happen this week, it may happen next week, maybe a few weeks time, but ideally looking to get some sells in here. And as we start to zoom out a little bit more, we can see that this zone over here, probably best seen on the monthly time frame, we've got a nice sell to buy region, a drop base rally with a tiny imbalance still existing within there. It's almost come into it, but I feel the second time we come into this now and actually mitigate nicely by closing in the zone, we should see an accumulation form and a good set of bullish movement to the upside from there. So long term, we should be bullish from here, but I think short term we should be looking at more bearish price action still. Of course, we'll be waiting for confirmations on lower time frames as always. And yeah, as we're seeing, another thing just to look at on intraday perspective is we've got 1, 2, 3 touches of the trend line. On that fourth touch, if we actually have a look at what happened, we've got a nice sell to buy region over here. If we look at the hourly, we can probably see it a lot nicer. Sell to buy region for demand, price has spiked into it, and by spiking into the demand, we've actually liquidated the trend line as well, so taken out liquidity of the trend line and seen a sharp movement in the opposite direction. Now the sharp move up may not have broken any structure, but as we go into lower time frames, we'll be able to see it in a bit more detail. So on the 5 minute, we've got a nice sell to buy movement, as you can see, with imbalance still existing here, which hasn't been filled in yet. So potentially for it to drop back down into this level and then look to go bullish. And of course, if we have a look at the size of the zone, it's pretty large for a point of interest, about 25 pips. So not looking to trade off of it, just looking to monitor price, find the confirmation, and then go for our entries. So there we have the end of the market outlook for this week. We've had a look at all those Forex pairs and the DXY of course as well, and we also had a look into the news for this coming week as well. Now if you guys enjoyed this video, then please do hit that like button and subscribe if you're new around here as well. It really does mean a lot, and I do appreciate it a lot. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video for more of that trading source.